it was just a basic beginner's handgun class. And as I was walking down the line, I mean, they weren't even loaded at this point, right? But she had her gun, and you could just hear it just rattling,
She's
shaking in her hand. And I didn't even know her, but I looked around and I saw tears going down her face. And I'm like, oh dear.
I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Franklin Armory, Range Ready, FN, Rock River Arms, Safariland, Ballistic Advantage, and BuildBox. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, our guest is Karen Hunter. Karen with SecureIt, gun safe storage, right?
Yes.
But you do a bunch of other stuff, so I thought it'd be fun. You've been in the gun industry for a while, and you seem to be one of these people who, in the industry, we have people who it's a job, and then some people who are like really into gun shooting, hunting, whatever that may be. And you seem to have gotten into it, from what I can tell. Is that
Very
true?
much so, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, where does this start for you? I mean, did you grow up really, really into it, or was it a more recent thing?
No, it was more recent, maybe about a decade ago. So growing up, my dad always had shotguns, right? We would shoot those a little bit, never really a lot with handguns or anything like that. So we weren't, traditional American family. We weren't anti-gun or anything like that, but nobody was carrying.
We have a few guns. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it was growing up in a time when you could leave the doors unlocked. There just wasn't much thought to that, right?
Yeah.
A little bit later, probably, I was an adult, single mom, 2 kids at the time. And my brother started carrying, and we all thought he lost his mind.
Really?
Yeah, because every time he'd come around, he'd have a gun on. And he's like, you need a gun. And I'm like, you're a gun nut. You are crazy. Like, I was one of those people that was afraid it would, like, go off in your pants, right? Or, like, I didn't want anything in my house with my kids. I didn't want any of that. Like, my daughter was really little. I'm like, somebody's going to kill themselves. So he kept asking, kept nagging. He was relentless. Finally went to the range with them. Shot for the first time ever a handgun, fell in love with it.
No kidding. What was the first? Do you remember what the gun was?
It was a little Ruger.
Ruger gun.
It was. Well, I don't know if I can say that. It was a terrible little gun, but
you didn't like it.
No.
Was it maybe
wasn't
an LCP,
for my hand.
like that little bitty 380?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just didn't fit my hand. But I think he had a Smith & Wesson. I forget what he had, but I tried his, and I just really loved it. But I remember feeling like, because I've had some things, just different life experiences, right? And I thought, I can protect myself. Like that empowerment, like if I really understood this, I could really protect myself, protect my children. Like the reality of that became very real to me.
So it kind of hit you. It was like an epiphany.
Yeah, like I can do this. Yeah.
Shooting handguns for the first time. You realized that you could control it, you could shoot it. And you went, wait a minute. Did you think... Was there kind of a moment of like, I've been lied to? Like, wait a minute, I've heard all this stuff out there.
Not at that moment. Okay. I showed up to the shooting portion, literally with like my gun and
for your concealed carry.
Yeah, in one of those soft gun cases in a Walmart sack. I had pink Ear Pro. Like I didn't know what I was doing. So the typical person,
half
right?
of the people at concealed carry license classes. Yeah,
absolutely. So but I still shot well. And I think that too, like I'm not a competitive person with other people, but I am with myself. So like if I do something well this day, tomorrow I'm going to do even better. Like I'm always, so the fact that I was doing well and it was something that I could continue to do. So there's that part of it too. But I got my concealed carry, I have to tell you this too, during the...
What was that like, the concealed carry class?
Boring. So during the talking part, I literally fell asleep 4 times. The instructor like dozed off, fell asleep. I cannot believe he still passed me.
Did he do like, Miss Hunter, hello?
Yeah, he'd be like, Karen. And we knew the guy that was putting it on too. But anyway, it was just really funny. So, but even at that point though, I had everything I needed. I got a holster, all the things, but I was still afraid. I was so afraid to carry it because I thought I'm going to shoot myself.
How many people get their carry permit and just don't carry?
Yeah, and I think too they don't train, so it gets put up and they think they're safe. But like for me, I was afraid of the gun, and I was embarrassed to admit that, but I was. I thought how does this not go off in the holster? How would this, because that's what people are conditioned to think. I mean, these things just go off, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to start with just what I called house carry. I put it in the holster. I had the magazine out, ammunition in the garage.
Not loaded.
Like there was no way to load this gun. Everything was so spaced out. Like,
okay,
I'm
house
thinking,
carry.
yeah. And I just walked around my house with it in until I got used to that.
Yeah.
Then I'd put the magazine in, still no ammo. Like I was far, it was just ridiculous. And then, but then it wasn't until I thought, okay, this is ridiculous. I need to know how this works. It wasn't until I did a YouTube video, like watched one, took the gun apart, like you would take a, like a field dress or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it completely demystified the gun to me, because then I knew how it worked. I knew what made it go boom, right? And I'm like, oh, so if my trigger is protected, if nothing can get to my trigger, I'm safe. I'm safe.
Guns don't go off.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a complete ridiculous statement that people who don't know anything the gun just went off. No, they tend to not, they don't really do that.
And there's no accidental discharges, there's negligence, and you can always point to a negligent thing. But it was after that I thought, okay, now I'm not afraid of it. I have a healthy respect for it, a healthy fear, like a respectful fear of it, because I know what it can do, like if I mess up.
Right.
But that's when, so then that made me feel better. I started carrying. I've always been a writer. And then I met a gentleman, because I knew I didn't know enough I was trying to find training. So I knew that my CCW class did not teach me everything I needed to know.
You know what's funny is we had, back when DVDs were a thing, we had a series of DVDs. We had Concealed Carry 1, Concealed Carry 2, instructional DVDs. And we had this radio commercial that ran on our show that was, your concealed carry class wasn't training. It didn't prepare you. And so, you can check out the Gun Talk series of good DVDs. And we would occasionally get emails or calls from people that they were pissed off that we said that. That is training. Why are you saying my concealed carry class wasn't training? And if you ask people, have you ever taken any type of firearms class? The most common answer is, well, either no or yes, I had a concealed carry class. And how do you explain to someone, if they've never taken any other type of class, that class was not training as far as like being prepared?
I would ask people outside of the legalities, the regulations, and those types of things, what did you learn in the class portion? Yeah. And then let them tell you. And then when you were shooting on the range, tell me everything you did. And then they'll tell you. And then you can point out, now here's what you could do. This. And then I think they would realize themselves, oh, I didn't do anything like that. Versus, because I think some people, they don't even know what training is. Like I didn't, but I knew I fell asleep 4 times. So I'm pretty sure I missed something. So
I wasn't riveted.
I was like, but the funny thing is too, when I was looking for training, the only things I could find were like Uber tactical jumping out of helicopter type things, or like, I'm like, this is nothing that applies to why I have a firearm. I want to know how do I carry this properly? How do I shoot one-handed if I have to hold my daughter? How do I, all the things. And so I finally met, was Fred Masterson.
Sure.
And I did his training, and I'm like, oh. And so we were training for a little bit, and he was like, he gave me the dot torture test.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was. I'm like, this is really stupid. Why am I shooting all these circles? And like, I didn't know what it was, but apparently I did so well. He was like, you should probably go into instruction if you could do this. And I was like, we'll see. And then he told me, he's like, well, you can actually write in this industry. I'm like, you can?
Wait, this can be a job?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah. So he did an introduction to an Athlon editor, and that editor said, can you send me a sample? And I said, okay. And he gave me a topic. I wrote an article, and he came back with 10 assignments.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. But I was working backwards. So like, where most of the writers at that time were mostly men who have been like, in the industry for a while, or instructors or law enforcement. Here's me. Like, I just fell asleep in my concealed carry class, right? But I had such a passion for this. So everything I wrote about, I immersed myself into study. Okay. Because I never I think it's very easy to give a perception versus what reality is. Like anybody can be anything, right? And what I always wanted to do was be genuine, stay in my lane, write about what I know, not about what I haven't, things like that, and tell a story that the everyday gun owner can relate to. And that's what the editor liked. He's like, this is something that's not technical. It's not a report. It's not, hey, look at what I know. He's like, you can tell a story.
Yeah, telling a story. I mean, so many gun magazines, they you have to choose, okay, what do we think our audience's skill level is? And most of them, I would always say, they assume that the reader has 5 to 10 years of knowledge of guns. They're an avid shooter, hunter, hobbyist, collector, whatever. And if you're like a bunch of people in the last few years who bought their first gun and you're trying to learn stuff, where do you go for that?
Yeah, that's the hard thing, because that's why I tell people, vet your instructors, or, your instructors, or even the information, because like I was that person. If I went to YouTube and watched a video, I'm like, oh, that must be the way it is. But now that I'm in the industry and I know some of like the difference between writers and YouTubers and things like that, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Right.
Like, yeah. And I don't want to like put anybody down, but you really have to really research everything. That's what I would say. But that's hard to do, because if you don't know, I mean, people don't know what they don't know.
No, they don't.
And how do you vet that, and how do you, figure it out? But
yeah. Take it with a grain of salt. I saw it on YouTube, or I read it in a forum. It may be good information. It may not be.
Yeah. I think sometimes a good rule of thumb is to do source your information from very good like publications, or like, people like you, people like, things like that, like I know Athlon, they're very picky about who their writers are. They don't just let anybody write. They want people that know what they're doing, or stay in there. Like I would never write about anything military, right? Because I'm not military. I would never write about what is it like when you have to engage a threat. I've never had to engage a threat. I mean, I can tell you, here's what I've learned, here's what I trained for, but I've never experienced it. So, things like that.
Karen, we got to take a quick break. After this, I want to talk about you becoming an instructor and what that experience has been like.
Okay.
There are deals to be had right now in the gun world. One of them going on is Sig Sauer. They have promos running now through December 15th. Buy an X Macro, get 3 additional magazines. That's a lot of value. Buy a cross rifle, get a free bag. And buy the P322, get a $50 web store credit, which I would just maybe go buy more magazines. I mean, the P322, I was thinking about that gun this morning. What a great trainer gun, because it's a 22 pistol, but it feels more similar to the full-size polymer pistols that we're used to. Whereas other 22 pistols, maybe the controls are a little bit different than what you're used to. So go over to sigsauer.com to learn more. Lots of deals to be had. Ballistic Advantage, they have a deal, 30% off site-wide. Dude, that's like a lot. So if you're thinking about doing a rifle build, the heart of a rifle is the barrel. It's going to ensure accuracy. And when it comes to AR barrels, now we're talking about dependability, we're talking about functionality, shootability, a lot of other things, and they have a wide variety. You've got all different types of lengths, 10 inches all the way up to like, 20 inches, 22 inches, 24 inches, in a lot of different calibers, 5.56, 300 blackout, 9 mil? 9 mil? Anyone? So go and check them out. BallisticAdvantage.com is where you go to learn more on that one. BuildBox, new season of BuildBox out right now. It's on the Outdoor channel, but it's also on all the Gun Talk channels. So Gun Talk's YouTube page, Gun Talk's Facebook page, GunTalkTV.com. And it's a really fun show where we do different types of custom gun builds. Some of it is DIY style. Some of it we bring in some experts to help us out. But we're doing bolt guns, we're doing pistols, we're doing AR builds, we're doing pistol caliber carbines. So go check out the new season of BuildBox. FN, FN for all the great guns. They make pistols, rifles, suppressors. That's right. A couple of the new ones, or at least newish, that are still very cool. The FN 510, Tame the Beast. max capacity, unmatched accuracy, and control, the FN 510 is the first 10mm pistol you'll want to keep shooting, which says a lot. So we like shootable 10mm, and you can put a red dot on it, which is going to really help you on that one extend the range, because a 10, you can get a little bit further distance and do some interesting things. They also have the FN Catch 22 Ti titanium lightweight suppressor, the FN 502 next level fun rimfire pistol. They even have it in an MRD version, so miniature red dot ready. Go over to fnamerica.com to learn all about these fun guns. So Karen, fast forwarding, I know that you became an instructor, have been doing that. Kind of want to fast forward into what type of stuff have you been teaching? What's that experience like? Because it seems like that's an area that you're pretty passionate about.
I am. So once I stopped being afraid of guns, I just dove in, and I kind of became that person that I want to shoot the biggest, the hardest, I don't know, the more of a challenge, the more I love it. And I can't even pick a favorite platform, but for instruction, my heart would be for the everyday gun owner, who I was when I was coming into it, because I just, I know the struggles I had and the misconceptions I've had. So that's kind of like my target area. Okay. So I became certified in defensive handgun, shotgun, and carbine. Gotcha. But I always teach at though I train on other levels and I'm capable of more, I instruct on that basic entry level. And I was doing classes for a while, but now I kind of stick to one-on-one instruction. I love that because the person is so much more open and able to say what they're afraid of or what they're struggling with. Sometimes in a class, people are trying to keep up. They don't want to ask questions. They don't want to look stupid. Ironically, I get a lot of men because I think sometimes men who haven't been raised with firearms or they don't know much about firearms feel emasculated when they go to a class full of men.
A bunch of guys who are into it.
Even though those men may not even say anything derogatory, I think some men feel like, oh my gosh, I don't belong here. I should know.
I'm supposed to know. I have Y chromosome. I'm supposed to know about this. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So sometimes,
which isn't fair. I mean, that's not. Look, if you didn't grow up around it, your dad, your uncle, your grandpa. I mean, I'm being a little bit biased, or sexist, saying but didn't teach you. Well, how would you know? You're not supposed to know this stuff. And frankly, we run a shooting school here, and there's a lot of people who are gun people who show up and they got a lot to work on. They're not necessarily great shooters.
Yep. They're the hardest to teach.
So you've taught a bunch of people over the years. Are there students that stand out? Are there stories that stand out? The reasons why they wanted to learn this? There's got to be those revelations where you saw someone and see kind of what their transformation can be with some instruction.
The one that stands out the most was a lady who, it was just a basic beginner's handgun class. And as I was walking down the line, I mean, they weren't even loaded at this point, right? But she had her gun and you could just hear it just rattling. She's shaking in her hand. And I didn't even know her, but I looked around and I saw tears going down her face. And I'm like, oh dear. Oh, geez. So I'm like, hey, are you okay? Her name was Rebecca. And she was like, I don't want to do this, Karen. I'm like, you don't have to. I'm like, you don't have to. She's like, no, I do. And I'm looking at her gun. And it was a nice gun, like huge, Really? It was an X5 Legion and it was all decked out. And I'm like, your husband sent you, didn't he? And she's like, but I understand, like, he wants her to be safe. They had 3 little girls, 2 twins, and then one that was a year older. So he wanted her to, go to a class. He wanted her to learn, wanted her to train, wants her to carry. And, but she was very, very afraid. So I just kind of took her off the line and off to the side because we had 2 instructors there. And I said, listen, let's just point in and just pull the trigger. There's no ammo in it. It's not going to, so we just, and I kept my hand on her back and, and so after about an hour, she was like, all right, I'm okay. I think I can load this now. I said, we'll just do one round at a time. Right. And just so you can feel what it's like. She's like, don't let go, So we just kind of went through it after 2 hours. And by the end of class, she was out there like a badass. yes. She was
Wow.
like on it and like really into it. She's like, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do. And I don't think it was me. I just think she had to realize it's not as bad as what, like those misconceptions. And for me, I'm like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, this is why I teach this.
That's amazing. Also, that story kind of helps me remember, and maybe people listening to this could apply this, because if you're listening to this, very likely you are a gun enthusiast and you end up being asked questions by other people. It reminds me that there are certain folks who just need to go a lot slower.
Yes.
Because you're going, we'll just load up and just shoot a little bit. I mean, an hour of dry firing just to get comfortable enough.
Because she's scared. Yeah.
To just load one round in the gun.
Yeah.
But you have to go slow. And that's true when you're teaching kids as well as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we like it. We're like the gun enthusiast people. And we're like, oh, it's no big deal. It won't hurt you. That gun won't hurt you. Just go, let's load it up.
Yeah.
I know, but take it slow. Especially if you have loved ones, you have kids or a wife or something that, look, they may not be into it. This lady's not into it. She's not like, sweet, I got the Sig Sauer X5 Legion. She's just going because her husband asked her to.
Yeah.
And it's important to him. It's not her thing.
Right.
At least it's not yet. And if you rush it, it's not going to ever.
Yeah, they'll just hate it because they feel forced. The other story would be the exact opposite. Was literally this past, like, right around July. Okay. My mom, who is 71, was at my house. Now, when I got into this, after we all thought my brother was a nut, now I'm carrying and I'm like writing and I'm traveling and I'm doing all these things. She's like, what happened to my little girl? I'm like, I'm still the same girl.
She's got plate carrier on with her AR.
Like she just like, I can't even talk to you anymore. Like, just my mom. And she's like, she's funny. But my dad, and he passed away 2 years ago, but my dad and he was my best friend. Mm-hmm. And he loved it. He's like, you get out there and you shoot better than all those guys. Like he awesome. Loved it. So he was my biggest fan. But anyway, after he passed, he had wanted my mom to have a revolver because just so she could protect herself if she had to. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, I don't need a gun, But when she came to my house, I live in Kentucky. She's in Ohio. So she came down. She's like, all right, take me out. Let me shoot. I want to shoot a gun.
Fine.
I'm like,
fine, show me.
Okay, let's go. So like, she's 71. We're going down. I have a range in my backyard, but there's like a hill. She's got fibromyalgia. I'm like, if we even make it down this hill, it's going to be great. So like, and I'm going really slow, just like with Rebecca. And I'm like, here's your grip. I'm showing. She's like, all right. And I look, she's got a perfect grip. I'm like, all right, now you're going to point in. Yeah, I got this, Karen. No, I mean, she had muzzle control, like barely in your eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, she wasn't afraid. She's like, can I do that again? And I'm like, yeah, because I was giving her one round at a time. Mm-hmm. She's like, give me more. And I was like,
why am I just doing one?
And then so she like just took off and I couldn't believe it. And then when
this is with her revolver?
No, this was with my Glock 17.
Okay. Yeah,
she didn't want the revolver. And she did really well. And when she was done, she just hands me the gun. She's like, you get it from your mama. And I was like,
oh, that's awesome.
After all these years, I was like, wow. So things like that story stands out because sometimes the person you anticipate to be the one that's going to need all the extra help or slowness is the one that really excels. And then, sometimes the one you think, oh, they're going to get out there and kill it. Like, so as an instructor, you just can't assume anything. But yeah.
Mom tough is a real thing.
Yeah. It's so funny.
For sure.
And now she wants a gun and she wants to go train and she wants to shoot. And I'm like, all right, that's what we'll do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Quick break. After this, we'll talk about SecureIt and what you guys are up to with that.
Okay.
You probably know Safariland for their holsters. They also make belts and some other kind of duty accessory items. But their bread and butter is holsters, but they also make holsters for the everyday carry guy. And one of the popular ones that they've come out with recently is the Incog X IWB holster, which is a collaboration between Safariland and Haley Strategic Partners. It's mission adaptable. It's red dot ready. You can change the position of it. It works for deep concealment. And it's available, fits right-handed, left-handed, light, non-light. Now available for the Sig Sauer P365X Macro. Go over to Safariland.com to learn more about the Incog X IWB holster. Range Ready Firearms, that's our training division here at Gun Talk. We have a classroom, we have multiple ranges outside, and we're putting on different types of classes and events. Right now, we are just putting the finishing touches on the schedule for 2024 and the first half of 2024. So if you're not signed up for the newsletter, go over to rangereadystudios.com, sign up for the newsletter so you'll be able to find out about these classes because they are selling out pretty fast and don't want to miss out. rangereadystudios.com. Franklin Armory, known for binary triggers, and one of the ones that's pretty cool right now, the Franklin Armory BFS 322-C1-P. What the heck does that mean? Well, it's a partnership between 22 Plinkster, trick shooter, YouTuber guy, really talented shooter, and Franklin Armory. And the 22 Plinkster is a drop-in trigger for 22s, for the Ruger 1022. Limited edition, and even has 22 Plinkster's signature engraved on it. So go over to franklinarmory.com. Check it out. Probably one of the most fun binary triggers you can have is one on a 1022. franklinarmory.com is where you go to learn more. Rock River Arms, you know them for ARs. They make uppers, they make lowers, they make complete guns. They make all kinds of things. The Ascendant is the one that we've been playing with lately, the Ascendant ATH. Kind of a tricked out, very accurate. Could be a varmint gun, could be all other types of hunting, certainly target shooting, great for that. And they've been at it a really long time. One of the things that I like are their muzzle devices. Work great, help to reduce muzzle flip and recoil. But go check them out, rockriverarms.com, see what they're up to. If you're looking at really upgrading your AR game, you kind of bought that whatever gun when you were in a rush, and now you're like, wait a minute, I want to get a good one. rockriverarms.com. So, Karen, you guys are down here at Range Ready Gun Talk headquarters, and we're filming some content with SecureIt. If someone's listening, they go, SecureIt. I feel like I've heard that, but what is that? I mean, how do you explain the company?
We are a gun safe company that focuses on decentralized storage and fast access.
Yesterday, Chris Serino goes, decentralized storage. What do they mean? Well, multiple locations.
Yeah, yes.
Is that a fair way to put it?
That's a very fair way to put it.
Okay.
And probably a more, yeah. So Tom kind of coined the phrase decentralized storage a few years ago. So we kind of stuck with that. But the thinking is most people have one gun safe, one big, heavy gun safe centrally, like in a central location in their home, right? So when Tom started, he started developing armories all over. You know how every city has that secret armory, like maybe it's under the pizza place
law
or whatever.
Enforcement or military places.
So he designed those, and he thought, while cities have these on this scale, every homeowner deserves to have this one at a smaller scale. They deserve to have fast access to a securely stored gun within seconds all throughout their home. And so that's kind of what that is. So you take the central storage and you break it up into decentralized.
And we have, as gun owners, I really feel like we've been blessed over the past couple decades with better options for this. I mean, forever it was people put their guns in their closet, or I've got that one handgun, it's sitting up in the closet. By the way, everyone knows where your handgun is, like even criminals. It's okay. We know it's on the top shelf of your closet, guys.
Yeah.
So now, hopefully, more people are catching on to if the gun's not within your control, it's a good idea to have it locked up in some way, shape, or form. And now that's evolved into the quicker access. And you guys have all kinds of different sizes and shapes to fit a lot of different places.
Yeah, and the idea is they should be concealed, in your home so nobody sees them. You think about those big, beautiful safes. It's like a den piece, or I just dated myself, didn't I? A den. Anyway, like a den piece or a man cave piece.
With your TV that's built into the wood cabinetry.
You might as well have a sign that
sitting
says,
on the floor.
Yeah, look, here's my guns. And just because it's big and heavy doesn't mean people can't saw right into it. If you really think about it. But so the thinking is places you can hide, easily get to, but if somebody, unwanted hands won't, whether it be, a child or an intruder or whatever. But earlier this year, I was thinking we have all these fast access safes because they're really fast. I mean, if you know your combination, you can plug it in, you can open it, get your gun. But I was telling Tom, it's really only fast if you train that way. Like, I'm so much about training for everything, right?
Gotcha.
Kind of like if you're carrying on body, but then a woman switches to a purse.
Right.
Now she has extra responsibility because this is not on body.
Because they set the purse down.
Yep, or leave it in the cart. But also how she carries. Like, how are you going to draw from that? Like, how fast can you, wherever it is, unzip, open, index, and draw that gun? Or are you going to, like, think about it. Like, if you're scared, you're going to struggle. I mean, half the time I can't even get my keys out of my purse. So, like, now you're handling a firearm. So people don't think about the training. So same thing with the safe. You know, if you have something for fast access, you're going to fumble the combination. You're going to fumble getting to it. And if you have kids, what if there's like a road of Legos ahead of you and you know, like all the things you have to think about. And so I told Tom, we really need to do some type of training with this.
Tom
to
being
teach
the
people.
owner of SecureIt's.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tom being the CEO of SecureIt's. I'm like, we have to like develop something that tells people it's fast access, but only if you train that way. And just like, you know, the keypad combination, like, you know, people like dry fire and they reload and they have their eyes closed. They can do it with their eyes closed, which is great. Same thing. You should be able to access your safe, index your firearm, and know exactly where it is, you know, in the dark, low light, things like that.
One of the things that we were talking about and some of the content we were just kind of going over here is the SecureIt's safes. You have different ones that are like bigger and like more of a gun safe style, and then you have skinny ones for like a long gun or whatever. But you have this like cradle grid system inside where you can have different pistol attached pistol pegs or long gun rests, and you can set it up however you want. But the idea being, you can fit a lot of stuff in this safe, but what you were saying is for a home defense quick access safe, there's a little bit different concept there.
Yeah. So in my home, like I've got the Answer 12, right? Which is our bigger, heavier welded safe. And it's great too. And it's still, you can still hide that. Like mine's in a closet, but I have that packed out. Like, you know, but I have certain safes designated for home defense. So it's my home defense safe. The guns I trust to shoot, the guns I like to shoot. I know it's not going to fail me, that type of thing.
And not too much stuff in there.
Right. Because you have to have the clearance. You don't want anything to obstruct your draw, right?
Hold on, bad guy. I have to get my 870 and my bolt gun out, and then I'll grab my AR that's way back there in the back.
So, and that's the thing. So you want to be able to get to the safe, open it up, index the firearm,
just grab the
and be able to draw
defensive firearm first, and it's not bumping into other things.
Right. It's like a holster for your house is the best way. And some people are like, well, what guns? And everyone has that whole debate on shotgun, AR, handgun. And I kind of, I don't know. I think of it like this. One time I had a lady, like I live way out in the hills of Kentucky, right? So this lady comes up my driveway. I'm like, we never have visitors. Nobody ever comes to, like, people I don't know, they never come to the house. So she's either someone who's lost who needs directions, or she's, a rural meth head that is, so I don't know if she's a threat, right? So I'm not going to go to the door and have a shotgun off to the side or an AR-15, right? But I will carry my gun. So, I go to my safe, I get my gun, maybe I holster it, right? And just in case, I open the door, or just don't open the door, right? But anyway.
Yeah, that's an option too.
That's probably a better option.
What do you want? You yell that through the door.
Yeah. But in the middle of the night, if glass breaks, right? Or I know someone's in my house, I don't know how many people are in my house. I don't know what that threat is. I don't know if I'm out trained or out skilled. These are things you have to think about. So then I might want something with a higher round capacity. Then I might want my AR, right? Or things like that. So I have different things set up. Like my Agile has a shotgun, AR, and like 2 handguns. My son is a second shooter in my house. He's an adult. So one's set up for him.
Okay.
So we can both access from the same safe if we have to. My daughter's just starting to shoot. She's really good. She's like, put one in there for me, Mom. I'm like, well, we'll keep training.
When you're ready.
Yeah. So that's how I do it. Under my bed, I have the 47, and I've got my Shockwave in there because that's one of my favorite.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, magazine fed. I love it. So
yeah.
Yeah. So and then I just have them all through my house. So at any point in time, I can have. That's kind of the goal.
And I think people will say a lot of people still do the whole I have guns stashed around my house thing, which is okay. I mean, if that's the way you like to do it, but they still not need to be not accessible to kids that come over. Yep. I mean, other adults. I mean, burglars.
I think if
cable repair guy, whatever.
Yeah, if people took the time to really understand the liability that goes into sometimes when you own a firearm, and they would be more careful with what they do. So the biggest pushback we get on this are people that say you should never, ever, ever lock up your defensive handgun. Never. Or your defensive firearm, whatever it may be. But, and they'll sleep with it beside their bed, under their pillow, whatever. But those places too, like if somebody were to break in your house, or even, I don't know, like I picture the Grinch, like when he goes into Whoville and like he's slipping things out of their hands because they don't wake up. So,
no, but Karen, they know. They already know their gunfight. They have it all figured out.
Exactly.
This is what's going to happen. Then I'm going to do this, and then the cops are going to come. They're give me high fives and thank you for taking care of this bad guy. That's not the way it's going to go. I mean, perhaps the moment you realize someone's in your house is because they're stabbing you as you're laying in bed.
Exactly. Because you didn't wake up. Yeah.
I mean, you don't know, right? I've had several conversations with friends over the years who I knew were like gun people, and they have their first child. And I have to remind them, I feel like it's my little duty as the gun friend guy to say, hey man, this thing's a baby right now, but now it's time to think about, how am I going to lock up all of my guns? And I'm not saying to anybody there should be a lockup requirement. That's like what, communists in Canada want to do or whatever. Right. But what I'm saying is, it is more likely for there to be a problem of someone who's a good person, a kid, whoever, getting a hold of a gun because you have them laying around the house, than ninjas kick in your door and come. I mean, the likelihood is you and I, Karen, carry guns every single day, and the likelihood is we'll never have to use it. Right. I mean, so yeah, I mean, that's the reality of, well, you should never lock up your self-defense gun. I mean...
And you're exactly right. And so it's funny because I posted on social media a video of me actually drawing from the fast box and then like advancing towards the target, right? Just doing some moving and shooting with it. And it was so funny because one person said, why would you advance? Why would you not get behind that for cover? And I'm like, this is not cover. I mean, maybe it would conceal my face. It's the Fastbox 20, right?
Oh,
like,
the safe,
but like, that's not going to cover you for anything. One, because it's, a round would go right through that. But two, maybe that was just for a drill. But also, somebody else said, you never, that led into you never lock it up because you might need it. And I asked that person, I said, what if you don't wake up? Like, what if something were to happen and you didn't wake up? And he was like, no, I'll wake up. I wake up to everything. And my plan is to use the 9mm under my pillow to fight my way to the corner to get the AR that's propped up in the corner. And I'm like, and we're done.
He's got his gunfight in his head. It's all scripted. Yeah. I just don't know if the bad guys read the script.
Exactly.
But he's got it perfectly figured out.
And you're absolutely right. Because and then that led into other people saying, well, if it's for children, you just educate your children. I have really good children. Like, I've hardly had any trouble with my kids. But have they listened to me every single time?
And do they have friends that come over?
Absolutely. You can't predict their behavior. You can't predict who their friends are. Like, you never know. Like, think about the things you did as a kid. Like, you want to be accepted or you want to be, who knows? Anything could happen. And I'm like, that it's a big risk to leave guns out with kids at any time. Yes, you educate them. Yes, you tell them. And like, I've really never had that much of an issue with my kids with that, but I keep mine secured just in case, especially when they were little. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know.
Yeah, I agree. It is funny though. And, some people who use the words always and never, I mean, come on, always and never. That's never the case. Things are not always the case of anything, right?
And what I push the most, though, is everything comes down to like the individual.
Sure.
Do what makes sense for you. Do what's comfortable for you. And then, but whatever that is, whatever, I
mean, maybe I'm saying all this and the guy's thinking like, dude, I live in the worst neighborhood ever. I literally have to sleep with a gun under my pillow. Okay, maybe so. I don't know your situation. But I mean, yeah, you also have to think about what's likely. And I don't know. I think it's interesting the training with your gun safe idea. And this, I mean, obviously, Secure It. You guys have a lot of good options and some cool options. There are a lot of other fast access safes. And I mean, I'm just going to say, like, this is a good idea no matter what safe you've got.
Absolutely. You can do this with any safe.
Because I've got the slow access safes. I've got the, okay, turn. Do I pass it up the number 3 times or 4 times? And then you left. Wait, I have to pass it twice.
But even that's a good point, then, because you still need to train with that. So you memorize your combination because in the heat, like
you should. I mean,
things.
I also have the fast access beep stuff, right?
Yeah.
But training with it to go, could you do it in the dark?
Exactly.
Could you do it? You said you blindfolded yourself?
I do. I do. So I'll be blindfolded in bed because I wanted to see how quickly can I get my shotgun out of the fast box. So the first time I tried it, I realized I can't even index this. Like I can reach down and open it, but I can't properly index this. Like I'm fumbling to get it out, right?
Right.
So because my bed sets higher, so I have to get down on the floor, clear my bed skirt like you would a garment, and then I go that way, and I can get out of bed and get the gun in under 2 seconds. One
of the trainers here, Joe, was I can't. I'm going to screw up the phrase he used, but basically it's a gear shakeout, a gear shakedown, like testing your stuff to go. Well, this is what I'm going to do. Well, have you ever tested it? Have you ever practiced this dry? I mean, and what if the guy who has his gunfight scripted out in his head? What if, like, I wear glasses, I wear contacts. What if when the alarm, because I have an alarm in my house, well, I'll hear it. The alarm will wake me up. What if it wakes me up and I'm like totally freaked out?
Yeah.
I reach for my glasses. They go behind the dresser. Now I don't have that. I'm having to go over to where my gun safe is. You just have to think about all these things.
And that's what people don't think about. So like even the
think
people
about all the bad stuff that can happen.
So even people that just keep it under their pillow or on the nightstand, think about what you just said. Like even if it's just on the nightstand, now somebody would think that's really fast access, but they still wake up. They're still, all of the things, right? They've got to get their feet to the floor. What if they are scared and jerky and whatever, and they knock the gun on the floor? Now your gun's behind the nightstand. Like, how are you, wherever it's at, you have to train from getting from point A to point wherever it is and all the things in between. But that even goes down to like, they'll shake your gear out, like holsters. Like I know women that have thigh holsters, bra holsters, and they change it up every day. And I'm like, that's fine. But every day do a little dry fire. So you remember that day, how am I carrying today?
Right.
Like, because it's always a different way.
Yeah,
you have to just, because your muscle memory may go to, here, but wait, I'm over here today in my bag or whatever. So
there's something to be said for carrying the same way more often than not. I think also the reality is probably most of us have a couple different ways to carry depending on how we're dressed and the weather and all these different factors, which gun I'm carrying. I mean, there are those who go, nope, always carry the exact same way, same gun, 365 days a year. Okay, that's cool, but some of us don't. And if I really want to piss people off, Karen, here's what all the folks who carry appendix, and then when they go to a 2-3 day class, do they carry appendix?
Right.
No, they have a strong side outside the waistband holster.
Yeah.
Okay. You did a lot of draws and shooting, and training is always a good idea, but you weren't training from inside the waistband appendix.
Yep. It doesn't.
You've just grooved 1,000 draws from your strong side outside the waistband.
You're absolutely right. Somebody asked me if I purse carry, and I do when I do this. I probably shouldn't even tell this, but so my daughter, she can shoot, and with the world being as crazy as it is, I always carry. So usually I carry. I usually use a belly band or whatnot, and I have my position where I know I'm the fastest. But if we're going somewhere that's a little more populated, or like sometimes we go to Nashville, we go there a lot, I'll purse carry with a gun that I know she can fire, positioned safely in a handbag. So we train. She can like if something were to go down and I have to draw, she knows how to unzip and draw from that bag.
Nice.
So because I thought, what if something happens to me?
Yeah, she's part of the
she
plan.
has to be able to take care of herself, and I don't care if that's legal. But I don't know if I can even talk about that.
Part of the plan.
Yeah, and
your family has to know. I mean, even from simple as, I mean, I know one guy. One of the talks he had with his family is, you guys know I'm carrying, and mom may not be carrying, and if there's some kind of confrontation, I mean, some obvious thing like, okay, a guy comes up and is, hold him, stick him up, or if it's just something weird going on, his advice was, I want you guys to get away from me. Okay. Because I'm going to have to draw my gun, and I'm probably going to be drawing whatever kind of attack or gunfire or whatever. Get away from me. And just, if you really want to get strategic and tactical, what's really awesome is if your family, your spouse, whoever is also carrying, and maybe, I mean, again, to be, sexist or stereotypical or something. Okay. Your wife's carrying, they're not thinking that she's the threat, and she can kind of move on a sideways. And now it's like the bad guy doesn't even realize, dude, we've got you flanked. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's just all sorts of things that go into it. But then I like with my kids and stuff, I'm like, the goal, because my son carries now, the goal should always be to never have to draw your gun.
Course.
So like the
Absolutely.
situational awareness, avoidance, know who is in your umbrella of protection. Your gun doesn't come with a cape. You're not a hero. Like, all the things. So
one of the security experts we had on the shows, his team, when they'd go overseas and do security work and stuff, their boss said, if you guys have to go to guns, we screwed up. We should not be having to go to guns. We should have seen things happening and lining up where, like, wait a minute, we need to change our location. We need to stop what we're doing. We need to do something else.
That makes me think of knives. So this is really hilarious. Somebody plated me as a knife fighter. And I was like,
cool.
When did I do that? Like, I'm so cool. I'm beyond it. I don't even know. I was like, no, I have a pocket knife that I have all the time, but as an EDC, like a tool or whatever.
Yeah.
Or emergency, right? Like whatever. But I always say, if I have to go to a knife, I've lost distance. Mm-hmm. I've messed up. Like,
right.
I've messed up somewhere in my situational awareness. And I mean, where's my firearm?
Yeah,
like,
it's a mess.
Like, why? And I don't think people understand, like, people just, especially women, they'll have a knife, like, I'm good to go. Like, do you even know how to use it? I mean, it's a completely different world. People don't realize there's just I don't know. That just, when you said that, it made me think of.
That's a whole nother tangent I could go on, is like the whole people go, I've got my knife. It's my tertiary weapon or whatever, my secondary. And it's like, have you ever taken like a defensive knife class? Because I mean, I carry a knife every day, but it just opens boxes. Like, I don't think I would be much, very worthwhile as a defensive knife fighter guy.
Yeah, me either. And this is where I always try to like stay legit and genuine and in my lane. Like, they wanted me to write something about knife fighting, and I'm like, if I write an article about knife fighting, it's going to be why you shouldn't depend on your knife for knife fighting if you don't know how to knife fight. And they're like, okay, we'll give this to somebody else. I'm like, because I have to be honest.
Not my world.
Yeah. And I'm really careful when people like put those titles on. I'm like, no, that's not me. So many people in this industry are bigger in their perception than their reality. So I always try to stay in the reality, and it's served me well. So
good. Well, Karen, thanks for being on with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
You guys, thanks for listening. I challenge you to challenge yourself mentally. Think about all the things that could go wrong. Maybe you rewrite the script on your gunfight. And, of course, go get some training. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation. To see all of Gun Talk's content, go to guntalk.com, guntalktv.com, or sign up for the Gun Talk newsletter.